Next up is Josh from the Actions Committee.
So far, the Actions Committee has sort of listed our duties and roles as organizing the events whenever we have a rally, a protest, a march, a sit-in, demonstration. We are going to be the ones who are going to be organizing that, getting the details of when we're going to meet, where we're going to meet, how long we're going to spend discussing it, and getting people to where they're going to be going and then doing what they're going to be doing. We have a few things that we need to know. How many people are available through the week for demonstrations and events? How many people are available to actually occupy and stay overnight? Whether it's one night and then go home and then come back the next night. At any point, if you can stay overnight. One of the things that we're thinking about doing is we need to have people on the streets every day. Wilmington, Newark, Dover, wherever there are people, we need people on the streets every day, letting people know who we are, what we stand for, what we're about. One of our thoughts was to contact local radio stations. There's 90.9, which is NPR, WHYY. 91.3, which is the voice of the University of Delaware, WBUD. 91.7, which is the beat of Wilmington. 93.7, which is WSTW, and 99.5, which is WJBR. Those are all based in Delaware. I can't speak for 99.5 and 93.7 because I wasn't aware that they were based here. But the other three I know are, public stations that are based here or within the immediate area. We have two events coming up that are pre-existing. We have November 5th, which is Move Your Money Day. If you are with, Bank of America, Citibank, Wells Fargo, Chase, and you want to switch your money out to a local credit union or a local bank, then you are encouraged to do that. You don't have to, but we would like to know approximately how many people have accounts at those banks and how many people intend on making the switch. November 6th is around the White House. From what I understand, it is environmental groups that are going to be there. They're just going to be, surrounding the White House. I don't know if they're going to be like a chain or if they're going to be a mob or what, not mob, but a crowd. But from what I understand, there are going to be environmental groups there and that there will be occupied movements there joining them. I don't know if there will be any other groups joining them there too, but that is something to keep in mind. I believe that's on a Saturday and a Sunday, the 5th and the 6th. Well, you can check that. If you have any ideas for specific events you want to do, like if you want to go to the headquarters of Bank of America and do a die-in where you go in and you just lay down on the floor and pretend to be dead, or if you want to go and try to get your money out and close your account and whatever, then you can feel free to come to us. Could I have the Action Committee members stand up so that people know who they are? We are all here. If you have any ideas, suggestions, concerns, come to any of us and let us know. We did have a suggestion to make a proposal for a march, but it was taken back because of issues with people getting into the city and out of the city at the end of the business day when people are trying to leave the city, parking, things like that. So we still have to get the details out before we can even do that. The only thing I really want to say is save big events for big crowds. If we're going to have a big event, we need to try and get as many people out there as possible and know that we're going to have that many people out there beforehand before we show up with 10 people thinking it's going to be a march to surround the entire block. So that's it. Let us know if you have any ideas.
Thanks, Josh. Josh, can I ask a question? Josh, you want to take a question?
Yeah, sorry.
My question is, how closely are you working with the media communications group? If you had a whole list of radio stations that I guess you're announcing your events to, are you corresponding with that with interviews and stuff?
So far, I know we've had a few people contact us. I gave them the media group's information. When we have something solid and nailed down, we're going to try and have it at least 7 days in advance. I don't know that we can get the radio stations on board. This was just a suggestion to call them and see if they would be interested in giving us a minute or two, once or twice a week to announce that we're going to be having an event. Most of it's probably going to be done on the Facebook page or through the media blogs, things like that. Anything else? Yes?
92.9 is also based in Delaware.
92.9. right, anything else?
I believe 101.7 is also based in
101.7?
Delaware.
University of Delaware radio station.
WVUD. Yeah, he's got that. I think he's got that. You have
Yes.
VUD, don't you?
91.3, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
WNPH is going to be up and running soon. I don't know what the numbers are.
Okay.
It's based in Mount Pleasant.
Okay.
It used to be
So you've heard some committee working group report backs. And just as a reminder, following the end of the General Assembly, we will break out. If you see a group that looks like something you might want to be involved in, feel free, they'll be available. They'll be available to talk to you. If you see a hole, if you see something like outreach, community outreach, or something like that, you see something like that, you say, I think they need that, make a sign, hold it up, and we will, feel free to just start your own committee. There are no rules saying you can't start a committee. And I think that's it for me.
Do you have some questions?
Oh, I'm sorry.
About arts, education, and culture, which is our group.
Is that your group? I didn't know that someone was going to be here to report out. Come on up. Come on up.
I didn't know I was reporting until tonight, but I think we can pull this off.
And you are?
Dossie.
Dossie.
Okay, guys, arts, education, and culture. The fun part about this is that this is what allows people that show up to feel like they are participating and this is part of their movement. Because, you know, we have this, particularly the arts and the culture component. This is all about you. So when we deal with the culture, we're looking at diversity, LGBT groups. We also look at religious groups. If you want to bring your group and be identified, that's a fabulous way to do it. I've been staying in Occupy Philadelphia. I'm Jewish. We've been doing Occupy Sukkah. It's the season of Sukkot. We've had a big Sukkah there. We had stuff for Yom Kippur. So there's different religious groups that can come in and celebrate if we're going to be there for a while. Obviously, we have you know, the winter holidays coming up, and that's something that we can think about. Musicians, we need musicians. This is probably a naturally occurring phenomenon in any movement. So we probably won't need to have anything official. It will be in an unofficial capacity, so if you have any interest in joining that, drum circles are fabulous. Even if you can't play, you can be loud. So join, and that's probably, you know, that's something that is a lot of fun for people that are there. Another thing with arts is poster making, because nothing says occupation like a poster with your thoughts on it. It is a way for you to identify why you're here and say what you need to say. And there's some fabulous posters out there. What we'll do is we'd like to get some donations. Either you can, if you can find somebody that can procure paint and paintbrushes. Most people are using, most occupations are just using old boxes and they rip them apart and you can make them as big or as small as you want. You can come with your own posters. But we like to have materials there for those who show up and say, wow, I really want to be part of this. And then they can paint their own sign and jump right in and be part of the movement. So we need supplies, we need paintbrushes, we need paint, lots of colors, we need markers, we need crayons. Whatever you can bring, whatever you can supply would be helpful. And again, since we're not occupying, I don't have a location for you to put this stuff, unless the warehouse that was offered would be willing to take this stuff too.
Seriously, my parents just started charter school, so they have a big empty warehouse next door. Plenty of space.
Fabulous. We're looking for plywood because we want to make a huge plywood wall for everybody to sign and put your message on it. It's a very powerful thing. Philly had it, they didn't do a plywood one, which I think was missing, but they did a paper, but we could do a plywood that was discussed in our group last time. So you can sign, put your message, whatever it is, sign your name, sign whatever you want to sign. A few more things. Kids Corner. We don't want people with families to feel that this is just a movement of dirty hippies and rabble-rousers, because it's not. This includes everybody, and we want people with children and families to feel welcome. In Philadelphia, they have a huge family section, so that kids have toys, they have crayons. It is not a babysitting center. So don't think you're bringing your kids and you're going to dump them there. It's a place where you can hang out and protest, and you know, there might be some people that are willing to take on activities with the children, but it's not a babysitting center, but we will have toys and things to make it family-friendly, so people know that families are welcome. And the last thing, which is probably going to be the most challenging, is the education component. We would like to set up a library, and that will include information about what the occupation is, information about diversity, information about any issues that you can think of that are related to
to this occupation. One of the things that was coming up regularly this weekend when I was staying in Philly was they have the End the Fed sign, but so many people don't even know what the Federal Reserve is. So if you have a tent set up with the paperwork, with books, if you want to get a big tent, be able to house the stuff and keep it safe from the elements, and have people on the staff that can answer questions in an intelligent manner. So if you're interested in doing that, we really need people that can do that. And one person had also mentioned a poet's corner, so if you are a poet and you would like to join that, I didn't want to neglect to mention that. That was I think that's pretty much everything, and tonight we're going to, when we meet, I would also like to bring up something about the homeless, because that's they have been embraced in many communities, and Delaware should not be, should not exclude them. So I want to talk about that tonight. Is there any questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
Actually, my original question was what happened to the Arts Committee, but now I understand why. But now I want to know, will you be taking, like, do you want the Time magazine, everything that's covering, like those news articles for your library?
You know what,
Anything that might educate?
that would be fabulous. I haven't even thought about that because this is kind of last minute. I just threw this together while we were sitting here. So, yes, that sounds great. But we're looking at even if there are books that we
Do a book list. See, it's going to be hard to get our hands on all the books, but a book list that people can go to the library if there's a particular article or a particular topic that they're not good on, like the economics.
That would be fabulous.
Okay, next up, group participation. Next up is we start our proposals. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make a statement about everything that was just spoken here about needs.
I just want to make a note that we're actually having a big thing at the end where we're having announcements, because we really want to get through our proposals.
I understand.
We have to really want to get by before we talk.
Okay, and first up is, unless we do this topic. Melissa.
Okay, so you just learned that we have committees. This proposal is a bit of a formality. Before I launch into it, I just want to mention something so that everyone understands. A committee can work on ideas, they can come up with a proposal, but they can't adopt anything that applies to this room, to this General Assembly, without a vote. Everyone here is a General Assembly, so if you want something to be done by the entire General Assembly, you need to make a proposal to the General Assembly. If everybody initially stands up and makes proposals to the General Assembly all night long, we will be here for 2 weeks. So we have committees. If there's something that you heard someone speaking about tonight and it interests you and you want to have a dialogue, go join that committee. That said, the proposal for this evening, this formality that we need to get out of the way is this. We propose that the General Assembly empower the committees to begin planning an occupation of at least one public venue in Delaware. This is a formality that we all need to agree on. I think we're all here to occupy. So now we need to empower the committees to begin planning the occupation. The committees will then report back to the General Assembly with their findings about things like permits and sanitation. And then the group can, as a General Assembly, ratify, which means approve, the plan for occupation by taking a vote. Does anyone have any questions? So now, this is a point of order, so go ahead.
Yeah, and this refers back to the comment about voting earlier, and that is, when we vote, are we voting on majority rule, or are we trying to see consensus?
2/3 is what we adopted.
I can actually talk to that. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to basically hope for a consensus, but if consensus does not work, we have a deadline. Then we vote. Basically, what the consensus process is we're going to, after the proposal amendments have all gone through, we're going to take a poll to see if everybody seems to be on board. If everybody seems to really be on board, we seem to have a very, very large consensus, we'll just say the motion passes. If not, what we'll do is we'll break up into small little groups, we'll have little discussions, we'll try again to see if that works. If that does not work, we'll take a couple more concerns, a couple more questions. If we go through that a few times and consensus is not reached, then we will vote on a 2/3 majority.
Okay, so now when we take questions, if you have a question, you'll raise your hand, your name will be taken, you will not start speaking yet. After the names have been taken, the stack taker will say your name, then you can speak, and then the stack taker will say the next name and that person can speak. So if you'd like to get on the stack to speak now to ask a question about what I've just proposed, a clarifying question, if you have a question about what I just said, about how it would affect the group, raise your hand and your name will be taken one at a time.
I have Bill. Bill?
Bill, you can ask.
Somebody else, Raj. Oh, sorry, behind you, yeah.
My question is just, for clarification, what the proposal is basically a one-sentence resolution?
Yes.
Okay, so the proposal is to, as the General Assembly, to approve this this statement?
You're going to be voting whether you approve this resolution. The resolution is, the General Assembly empowers the committees to begin planning an occupation of at least one public venue in Delaware. The intention of the proposal is a very simple formality, just to state that we all agree we're here for an occupation. We're not trying to determine the rules of the occupation while we're in General Assembly tonight. We're going to break into committees to discuss that. Does anyone else on the stack? Could the stack taker say who's next to speak?
I have Pam.
Has there been a date under consideration?
That is something that the committees will be discussing after we have more information from the committees about things such as permits, sanitation, things that go into an occupation. So when the committees have information to present to us, we can then decide as a group, well, it sounds like we've got enough information to decide on a date, and then we can vote. Is anyone else next on the staff? Tina.
Sorry again. But, I'm confused, like, if I already know what group I'm in, so if I have a suggestion or a question to another group, what is the formality about?
Go visit them, talk to them.
So just like temporarily leave my group and
Or
join another?
walk up to someone in the group and ask for your email, and get to them later. To expand on that, every time we have a General Assembly, we'll be giving you a report about what they've been working on. So you should have a pretty good idea of what the groups have been working on, so you know who you want to talk to, if you want to talk to someone in a group that's not already part of it, if you want to join the group.
I just didn't know if there was something like within, like between one Wednesday to another Wednesday that was easy to contact.
The Facebook wall is generally the best way to contact someone else right now. If anybody needs an address on that, the Facebook wall is for Occupy Delaware. We also, each of the committees are working on putting together online groups or email lists. So if there's a committee that you want to contact, the best way, if you don't already know how, or if you can't get on Facebook, is to find someone at a General Assembly in that committee, and they'll pull you in.
Josh.
Josh?
You said the Facebook wall would be the best way to get in contact with someone?
If you don't know who to contact, how to find them, or aren't at a General Assembly, that would probably be the easiest way for most people to find someone new.
Okay. Okay. It's a concern.
If you're here, the best way is to go find someone and ask them. Does anyone have next place on staff?
Dave?
Dave?
Yes. You said that this resolution is to empower committees.
Yes.
Which committees, or is it just up to?
Any committees. Any committees that are formed by this General Assembly. So the committee's job is to go start planning, and then the committees will report back to us, and we will then vote on what they have reported back to us. Who's next on stack?
I have no.
Has the stack been closed?
Okay.
Okay, so the next step would be concerns. Does anyone have any concerns about this very brief yes or no proposal?
Susan?
Can you please read it again?
Yes. I propose that the General Assembly empower the committees of the General Assembly to begin planning an occupation of at least one public venue in Delaware.
Okay, then my question is, I thought last week we decided on Logan Square.
Right now, we are empowering committees to continue the planning process. So all the other aspects of an occupation, such as where we're going to go potty, who's going to cook our food, we're empowering the committees to begin planning those aspects of the occupation.
So who's going to take the place?
That the committees are going to present resolutions they're going to propose for us to resolve. Right now, there are many, many logistical issues, including things like permits, which go into picking a location, although there has been discussion of locations in the previous group. There are many logistical issues that we believe, as of our last 3 assemblies, need to be discussed before the entire General Assembly votes on an occupation. That said, everyone here is an individual and is free to do anything they want. So if any one of you goes and decides that they're occupying a place in Delaware, that's your individual choice. What we're talking about here is group decisions, things that the entire General Assembly adopts together. Is there anyone else with a concern on stack?
I don't know.
Josh?
My only concern is that when you said that they can be contacted through the Facebook wall, a lot of posts are come up on the Facebook wall, and I know I've been lost in it.
Okay.
Can we do discussions?
As a point of order, that's not what we're talking about right now, but to answer that question, the media committee is working on a public forum, which every committee and any person anywhere in the world can also share and use to communicate with us. When that forum is done, we'll certainly announce it. Until that forum is ready, as a temporary measure, it's convenient for most people to go on the Facebook page or to grab someone at the General Assembly. Does anyone have a concern who's on staff? Does anyone on staff have concerns? Okay, we're going to close concerns and move on to amendments. Bear in mind, if you make amendments, we're going to be here for a long time, so choose wisely. Would anyone like to make an amendment to this yes or no resolution that we should all plan an occupation with?
I'd just like to make an amendment that we have a report back by, we set some sort of deadline for report backs for, initial proposals for a actual occupation by, I'd say, next week.
Okay, great. So the amendment is that we are empowering the committees to begin planning with the requirement that they report back to the General Assembly next week with their findings. That's the amendment.
I'll second.
The amendment has been seconded. Does anyone want to get on staff with a clarifying question about this amendment? If so, raise your hand. Mike?
I would like to know what that date is specifically.
Next week.
Next week, whatever the next Wednesday is.
Next Wednesday, the 26th, would be the report back date for the committees to report back to the General Committee.
Thank you.
Is anyone else on staff with a question about the amendment for the date of next week for reporting back?